2014 Race to Remember. Olympian and six-time USATF 800-meter champion Alicia Montano running the 800-meter while 8 months pregnant at the USATF Championships. NBC 16's Gold Meadows now joins us live after speaking with Montano about how she's using this moment to help other moms.
Alan, it was a bold move that led Montano to found her nonprofit And Mother. And And Mother is here at these trials helping mothers on and off the track with an enhanced feature.
Protection, respect, and continued opportunities for pro-athlete mothers returning to their sport drives Olympian, USATF champion, and mother of three, Alicia Montano.
The most powerful moment for me was running at 8 months pregnant with my first child, Linnea, in 2014, where I really knew that every part of me was important in the sport, and I wanted to make sure if I was going to leave the sport better than I found it, I could show up as my truest self. And sharing with little girls and telling them you can be anything that you want to be, I wanted to make sure that they saw it wasn't a dead stop if motherhood became a part of your journey.
Montano says it's hard for moms to bounce back in their careers postpartum. Her job, she says, is to show the world it can be done and how. This year, her nonprofit And Mother, USATF, and Tracktown USA teamed for the track and field U.S. Olympic trials to bring an enhanced service for lactating moms.
Being able to win nationals at 6 and 10 months postpartum and making the world championship team at 8 months postpartum and winning a gold medal, those were all icing on the cake. I knew that I was going to be putting my podium moments as the forefront of podium moments for other mothers. If they could see all of the invisible barriers and I make them visible, then hopefully down the line in the future, these barriers would be less.
New lactation rooms with expert volunteers from Women's Care in Springfield are one way they're breaking those barriers.
We have lots of different supplies that they may need. So we have diapers, we have wipes, we have little burp cloths. So if mom is bringing baby in here to nurse, then they have supplies to do so. We also have a fridge where they can store their milk right here.
The rooms allow for athletes and others at the event to meet lactation needs with ease.
Having comfortable places for them to sit, to either breast pump or to nurse if they want to use a space for nursing. Having the supplies they need throughout that process, whether it's wipes or breast pumps or milk storage.
Montano says even little Linnea embraces her mother's mission.
She goes, Mom, I love everything that you're doing. I see what you're doing and I get it. And that's just powerful. At 9 years old, almost 10, to just have that full circle where she was the one that sort of inspired this movement. We're not having a moment, it's a movement.
Elle St. Pierre, one of several mothers here participating in these Olympic trials. She's already secured her spot to Paris in the 5,000, but she's competing here in a few minutes. And I'm going to go back to our sports director, Hayden Herrera, to tell us more about what that race is she's participating in.
She is one of the many that are in the women's 1500 semifinals. That's coming up in just a
by the thousands have the chance to build their construction skills and build homes for those in need before ever leaving high school. Team Oregon Build launched in March, and it all started with a desire to help families recover from wildfires.
The Holiday Farm fire ripped through the McKenzie River Valley in the fall of 2020, leaving behind destroyed properties and displaced families.
We had people who wanted to help and support these families, and one of the projects we engaged with was called Sheds of Hope. So the students started building sheds for families impacted by wildfire. Through this, we built rapport. We realized that we could evolve and take this program even further, which led to the transitional housing units.
It birthed Constructing a Brighter Future through the Lane Workforce Partnership, and most recently, Team Oregon Build, where 3,800 students across Oregon put hammers to nails each week to build transitional housing, storage sheds, and other structures to get the houseless on their feet. Dozens of Lane County students are in on the building.
A baseline of skills is how we started the program, and now we're doing full projects of framing, and we learned how to use a lot of hand tools and circular saws.
Even if I don't end up going into the construction trades, which I think I'm going to, I could still use all the knowledge I'm learning on building my own house or adding on to my house.
These 4J participants work out of the Lane Community College site and will have a brand new building to build in come November. But they're working with more than tools.
Measuring various distances, or it's critically important to make sure your doorway is square, and there's math behind all of that, as well as cost, etc. So we do some classroom instruction in mathematics. For the language arts, they are learning a lot of communication skills.
Students walk away from the 1- and 2-year tracks a few steps ahead of the competition with their portfolio of builds and certifications.
We have them get their OSHA 10 safety certifications. We also have some industry recognized credentials that they can earn in safety, in construction, in framing.
It's a good backup plan, but obviously like if I'm like 10 years down the line, I'm like, man, I want a new patio. And I'm like, all right, I'll make it myself.
One transitional home with electricity but without a bathroom or running water cost about $4,400. Thanks to a $2.2 million expansion from the Department of Education this year, the program can take care of these costs.
39 schools across the state participate in the program. Quinn tells us students working with Team Oregon Build have a 90% graduation rate.
Good for the future of Eugene Emeralds baseball at the Lane County Fairgrounds. Good evening and thanks for joining us for NBC 16 News at 5:30. I'm Alan Matthews.
And I'm Gold Meadows. This uncertainty comes after a measure failed last week to help fund a new stadium. I spoke with those impacted by the vote. This time last week, a ballot measure to provide bonds to fund a multi-use stadium at the Lane County Fairgrounds failed to pass in the primary. Now the Emeralds General Manager Alan Benavidez says this definitively closes one door on a years-long search for a new home.
Had it been really close, we would have questioned whether we should have done this or that. And, you know, and it was a fairly wide margin and have accepted it, and we're moving on.
The M's have called Lane County home since 1955, currently playing at PK Park Stadium, home of the University of Oregon Ducks. A new stadium at the fairgrounds would have cost about $90 million, with a guaranteed $15 million from the state, plus federal and team funding already in the bag, pending additional matching funds from the city and county. The city of Eugene couldn't afford the bill and put it before voters, but it was money voters weren't willing to part with. Now the team is having aggressive conversations with 3 new communities ahead of a move before their lease at PK Park ends in 2030.
We have to pay additionally each year for the additional games, and we have to pay for the visiting trailers, and it's really expensive for us to operate here, so we need to get out as soon as we can.
Lane County Commissioner Pat Farr tells us his instinct is that the county will not pursue building that new stadium any further. He says had the levy passed, they still didn't have the $6 million to replace the fairgrounds livestock building.
A bit of sadness. I grew up watching M's play at the old Civic for years. It's just been a tradition. So yeah, it's a situation where I feel a loss. We should do more to see if there's any other options to come together and actually find a common ground.
I think the thing I'm most bummed about is the fans, the community, the loss that they're going to have once the team moves, and the vacuum that it's going to create. Frankly, it's over.
Taxpayers for Transparency launched a campaign against the stadium, saying it would cost taxpayers $100 million. Benavidez says those numbers were inflated. Reporting in Eugene, I'm Gold Meadows. Benavidez says they'll build the new stadium for less than $80 million in their final location. That location has not yet been decided.